talking about Ready for Love, the YouTube show, and I had never seen it, but there seemed to be some interest in it by others, and so I decided to watch it to see if I liked it. And it was interesting, so I watched several episodes of the show up to the present show on the 22nd, I believe it was. And it was interesting. It was an interesting show, but I didn't understand it. I don't understand the goal of the show. They keep bumping off women and bumping off men, and I don't know how you get to the end or what you get in the end. I don't see the benefit in staying. I mean, once you met your mate, why don't you get bumped off the show and just contact your mate offline and go on and do your socializing without being on the show? I don't know what the point is. I don't hear mention of any money or any trips or anything. So I still don't know what the point of is getting down to the finals. Maybe there's some contractual thing that keeps people in there. I don't know. But anyway, it was interesting. And so I started watching it as a dating show. People trying to find their mate and so forth. And I thought it was a real emotional dating show and that people were sincere and so forth. It wasn't until I got to the most recent episode that I realized I was watching it in the wrong manner. This isn't a dating show. This is just another game show. And it really makes no difference as to whether or not you're meeting your perfect person or not. The goal, I guess, is to win. But again, I don't know what you're winning. You just get the honor of winning. I don't know. But anyway, it was revealed when Joel, who is one of the stand-up people on the show, a lot of women seem to think he's the, good, best-looking and marriageable person in the show. And Joel, who had a relationship with this one lady for a number of episodes, and she was really set on him. She visited his house, and that seemed to be the clinger. I mean, she could picture herself in the house with Joel, and she was ready. She said this is the man for her. So they were supposed to invite these women that they were interested in to a meeting with their close friends, family, whoever they wanted to, 2 or 3 people. And Joel invited the girl he was interested in, and she came, and she looked very nice, and they were getting along fine. And then Joel's friend said, did she expect to get married? And she said, yes, she expected to get married, and she thought Joel was her future marriage partner. And I think she said she wanted to be the first person on the show to ever get married or something like that. And everyone seemed to raise their eyebrows. And then when it came time for the men to meet together and say who they preferred, Joel went totally off into left field and didn't pick the girl that he had been focusing on the whole time, but he picked another girl named Kyra, who, according to what I saw and what other people reported, he had never shown any interest in. Kyra is a very nice-looking lady who is an attorney, and Joel picked Kyra as the person he was most interested in when they had this men's meeting. Well, that shook everybody because Kyra was on the list of a couple of other people, and they said they were most interested in her, but they had all picked her earlier as a person that they were kind of interested in as far as further investigating a relationship. When Joel said Kyra, one of the men, who is a teacher who looks much younger and feels a little bit more insecure, his eyebrows really raised because he had also picked Kyra, and he also picked another lady who was very religious as the 2 women he was interested in. But when Kyra and this religious lady showed up for his meeting with his friends, the religious lady went way off the rails and started making Bible quotes and becoming very, very religious about the whole thing, and never revealed anything to his friends about herself or about her feelings to him or any connection. So it was very bizarre. She came and did her little Bible spiel, and then she said she was finished, dropped the mic, and left. And then Kyra was left, and she was much more sincere. She knew how to answer questions. She was able to bring in this guy's friends, and they felt that she was much more appropriate for a match with him as a future potential wife. Now, in reality, neither of these women are probably the right person for him, but these are the two best people of the people that are left that he could choose from. So anyway, at this men's meeting, as I said, Joel picked Kyra, this other guy picked Kyra, and a couple of more people picked Kyra as the main person they were interested in. So then I had to think, what in the world is going on here? Why is everybody picking Kyra? Especially Joel, because he never showed any interest in her before. Well, this is an elimination show, and your main job in this show to win is to not get eliminated. So Joel, I believe, when his girlfriend met his friends and she said she wanted to marry him, I think he had the realization that she was only focusing on him. She had no backup people to keep her on the show. So as long as Joel voted for her, she had one vote. But none of the other people were going to vote to keep her on her show because she showed absolutely no interest in any of the other men. And so if anybody was going to be dropped from the show, his girlfriend was probably going to be dropped very, very soon. If not the current round of droppings, it would be the next one, because she had no support system. She would only get one vote, really, from Joel. Kyra, on the other hand, had a lot of support people, so it seemed that Kyra was going to be around for quite a while, because she had 3 or 4 men who were going to vote to keep her on the next few rounds. So she was going to be headed into the finals, probably. And Joel was only focusing on this lady who was going to be eliminated soon. So he really didn't have anybody who was going to vote to keep him around as they continued voting people out. Joel was going to be up for elimination very soon. Now, just before he had this realization, he was able to go on a date with another lady, very nice girl, but she's very short. He's kind of, I don't know, maybe average height, maybe a little taller, and they had no chemistry in the past. But he decided to date her, or she decided to date him. I don't know exactly how it went, but they dated together, and she was making that remark that they had never shown any interest in each other, they had never met each other, they had never talked with each other seriously as far as a romantic relationship. And he came in and said nice things. He wanted to get to know her, and she's a district attorney, and so he gave her a kiss on the cheek and said, you know, he felt that he wanted to know her. He felt she was a very interesting person, and so forth. And they had a great date, and at the end of the date, she decided to give him a kiss on the cheek. Now, Joel had never kissed this girl who was really interested in him, and not even on the cheek. So this was his first chick to any of the women, and he gave it to this woman that he had just dated for the first time, that he had never shown any interest in it before. So Joel was on the path to making a support system. He needed more people to vote for him in the next couple rounds of voting so that he did not get voted off the show. So now he had the girl who was up to be eliminated, his girlfriend. Now he also had the district attorney who thought he was a very nice person and gave him a kiss on the cheek. Possibly she would keep him on the show, but you probably need 3 people to vote for you, to keep you on the show. So he was going to need one more person to back him and say, oh, well, Joel's a potential match. I might as well keep him around so that we can see whether or not this will work out. That's why he voted for Kyra, because Kyra, the news will get back to Kyra that Joel, surprisingly, voted for her and said she was a possible love interest for him. Kyra's going to be shocked because Joel had never shown any interest in her. But now, because he is a possible love interest and he mentioned her name in the meeting, she is going to want to keep him around for the next couple rounds because she's going to want to see whether or not they have any chemistry together, and she's going to want to talk with him. She's never even dated him, so she's going to have an initial date. She's going to have to talk with him and see where their relationship can go. And so that way, he'll have 3 votes for the next round, and after his girlfriend goes, he'll still have potentially 2 votes. That would be Kyra and the district attorney, who would vote for him in future rounds so that he could stay around for, several more rounds of the game. This is totally a game show. It has nothing to do with who you're interested in or anything. If Joel really wanted to continue to meet his girlfriend, he could easily take her phone number or her address or whatever, make contact with her after the show, and they could continue and have a relationship if they wanted to. But he doesn't have to keep her for the show. Once he sees that her boat is sinking, he can go on to a boat that has a little bit more buoyancy and save himself for a few more weeks and see whether or not he can get closer to the end of the show. Now, since I've never seen this show, I don't know how this show ends. I don't know how they narrow it down or what the final 3 or 4, I think there are only about 4 people left, what the final 2 or 3 people or whatever happens do. I don't know how it goes down to a winner and what happens with the winners. It's all kind of vague to me, but I figured this out. This is not a real matching show. I think people get totally invested in it, and most of the people who are discussing this show are still talking about relationships and marriage and so forth, but I think they're really on the wrong path. There's nothing in this show that has to do with real marriage or real marriage potential. These are just people who want to be on a game show, who want to be on TV, who want to be seen, and you do get to be seen every week by, millions of people, and, if they're interested in a career. And then I heard someone say that Joel, who is supposed to be a drilling engineer for some oil company, that he wants to be a rapper. Now, that never even came out in his personality, in his age. I think he's like 42 or something, which to me is too old to be a rapper or even to start in the singing industry. Most people know they can sing much younger and already have a career. But I was told by one review person that Joel wants to be a rapper, which is really bizarre. I don't see that in any way from his lifestyle. He has 2 kids. He posts himself as was married, but his wife died of something and left him with twins, girls who were about 8 years old. And then another reviewer said that he was already divorced from his wife when she died. So he was not in a loving relationship with her when she died, allegedly. So I don't know anything about that, but that's what came out in one review of Joel and his situation on this TV show. So it is enjoyable, but I do think people need to separate themselves a little bit. This is not a real marriage show. This is not about looking for love. This is about staying on the show and being named the winner, whatever that means, and don't get involved with it as what it was presented to me as. It was presented as to me as a group of people who wanted to find love, and that's not what it is at all. But it's enjoyable if you want to waste an hour or so watching the show and find out who wins. Because no one's really invested in these women. I mean, they don't really care. They're just picking women to stay on the show, and they don't really care about marrying them. I mean, you could possibly just watch the last few episodes of the whole series and save yourself a lot of time trying to figure out who loves who, and just find out who wins the show. So, and I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna try to find out who wins this show, and what they get. Why are they on the show other than just publicity? So, okay, well, that's the end of my review of Ready for Love.